Thank you very much, Program Director. You can see the difference in terms of innovation and technology. The person who just left the stage, who's also the chair, came here with a computer. I still come with paper. But there is a reason behind it. This morning as I arrived, I tried to then log on onto my computer, and the system locked me out. Now, after being locked out, I thought I was in danger. Then I remembered that you must always have the second line of defense in line, and that's paper. So I just realized the importance of paper this morning. Thank you very much, Chairperson Mary Thompson. I would like to also extend a word of appreciation to the invite that was extended to us as the Department of Agriculture, coming through from Mr. Dirk Ace, who you cannot say no to once you see how he articulates an issue when he presents that to you. And I have got to also thank the CEO of Potato SA, Dadevili Jacobs, for the invite that was extended. It is quite an honor and privilege for me to stand before you and articulate the view that we have as a department around how we deal with the issue around innovation. It is also very ironic that today, as I stand here before you, I stand before a sector that has provided me with a mentor that has led me and held me in government service for a very long time, Mr. Mike Holzhausen. But I want to say this, a very important issue about him, is that in between the history of Potato SA, there's a period between, I think, 1947 to 1966 or so, where Professor van der Planck was busy with the potato industry at Bephelspoort. And he happened to be the supervisor to Mike Holzhausen. So people like me and Jan Hendrik over there would not hear anything other than van der Planck when we had engagements with Mike Holzhausen. And for that, I would like to thank the potato industry for making a contribution in terms of what we have in South Africa. I thought that deserved a round of applause. Today we gather not merely to share insights or showcase research. We are here to co-create the future of one of South Africa's most vital industries, the agricultural sector, and more specifically, the crop that sits at the very cornerstone of the future of South Africa. The humble and yet powerful potato. In 2008, or 2008, as they say, the Food and Agricultural Organization declared that year as the year of the potato. They chose the significance of this crop to the world. Not only that, in 2021, the very same FAO declared that year the International Year of Fruits and Vegetables. And the potato is not excluded in terms of the importance that it plays in terms of providing sustenance to all of us. From a South African context, we are talking about an industry that contributes no less than 60,000 jobs in terms of primary production. And if you have got to extrapolate that over time, and you include the forward and backward linkages in terms of the sector, that number changes astronomically. We're talking about a sector that contributes no less than 7 billion to the GDP of this country. And if you have got to then look at how this comes to the fore, you then see that the South African GDP contribution from the sector is 3%. And therefore, the significance of the potato industry comes to the fore. I am saying this because we have got to set the scene for this pivotal moment that we are having. As we navigate through an era that is characterized by volatility, uncertainty, and complexities, but also very incredible opportunities. And that is why we are here today, to ensure that we don't let these opportunities go by. As they say, through every dark cloud, there is a silver lining. We are navigating through climate change, accelerated climate variability, and increases in terms of ways and means of volatilities that we experience in the world. We are experiencing systems that challenge the traditional models of farming. We are experiencing water scarcity, erratic rainfall, and soil degradation, all of those that threaten our food security and long-term sustainability. We are experiencing global market fluctuations and supply chain disruptions that impact on our competitiveness. We are experiencing an era where there is a level of youth disengagement in agriculture. What was once the symbol of our pride and promise as agriculture is now becoming a field of growing uncertainty. We are also faced with rising input costs. And to all of you who are here, I would not be reiterating how much is it to plant a hectare of potatoes that you quite well know of. And that in itself has got a way of exclusion in terms of participation from all who are involved. Decisions that have got to be taken are taken based on what the cost would be and what the rewards would be. And at the end of the day, those decisions have got an impact in terms of this sector that you are currently talking to. Beneath all of this lies the need for inclusive and transformative rural growth. Growth that does not leave the smallholders, women and youth behind. And I'm very happy that in my engagements with Potato SA over time, I was also introduced to farmers who are in this midst today, black farmers who are farming 200 hectares and beyond. And I think that's a significant movement in terms of Potatoes SA and contribution towards inclusivity. The issues that you are dealing with, especially in this industry, the potato industries, these are not small matters. But allow me to say this clearly and confidently, that within every challenge lies the seed of opportunity. If we are bold enough to do only one thing, to innovate. We are not short of talent and ideas. South Africa is the home to world-class research institutions, committed producers, and an engaged private sector. But as they say, innovation does not thrive in silos. It thrives in ecosystems. We must build strong bridges between scientists, between farmers, between policymakers, producers, and between the established and the emerging, and between knowledge and practice. We must also build communities of practice to ensure that innovation stays on the cutting edge of our industry. Events like this symposium are very crucial towards cultivating those connections. And we must be intentional in investing in the next generation, the young scientists, the digital solutions-driven people, the digital disruptors who will redefine agriculture from 2050 and beyond. And I'm saying 2050 because there are estimations in terms of the growth of the population from 2050. And I think in this room today, we have got those disruptors that can make that contribution towards ensuring that we are at the cutting edge. We speak of innovation. We often picture drones, robots, artificial intelligence. Yes, Indeed, these are powerful tools. But I want to challenge us today to think broader. Innovation is not just about machinery. It is a mindset. It is about thinking or even rethinking how we grow, how we distribute, and how we consume food. It is about reimagining our legislation. It is about reimagining the regulations. It is about reimagining the systems that we have, including the potato certification system. It is about respecting the indigenous knowledge, blending it with science, and ensuring that the new solutions are not just advanced, but are affordable and accessible. In the context of the potato industry, innovation means developing climate-resilient cultivars that would withstand heat, drought, and pests. It means that we have got to leverage on data analytics, biotechnology, and precision agriculture to improve yields. It is about us lowering the costs and also reducing the environmental impact and ensuring that innovation is inclusive and it reaches both the commercial farmer and the smallholder, both the exporter and the rural producer. If we are serious about transformation, then innovation must be inclusive by design, not an afterthought. We also have got to think about how we engage from a regional perspective, whether we're thinking about SACU, whether we are thinking about SADC. We have got to be intentional in terms of growing this crop. We have got to be intentional in terms of growing the value chains within the region, including in Africa. We have got to be intentional in terms of taking the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program as the centerpiece of growing this crop in Africa. Of course I'm saying this because I know that we have got technologies that Africa can utilize, the whole of Africa can utilize to ensure that we move ahead. As potatoes are a staple crop worldwide, their trade also poses significant biosecurity risks. When we import propagation material, such as seed potatoes, we risk importing harmful pathogens such as potato spindle tubervirus, potato black ring spot nipovirus, and bacterial wilt, also known as Ralstonia solanaria. These pathogens can easily be transported through infected seed stock, leading to outbreaks in new regions, devastating local crops, and impacting on food security. As a result, we inversely also affect our exports. Just recently in South Africa, we detected pepper ring spot virus in potatoes in South Africa, which immediately had an impact in terms of our exports to the rest of the world. And therefore, our value chains have got to be looked at in terms of how we deal with biosecurity. Similarly, fresh potatoes can also carry pests like potato tuber moth, cyst nematodes, and bacterial diseases. These pests go unnoticed because they are hidden within or on the surface of the tubers and soil particles attached to the tubers. If introduced into new areas, they can establish, spread, and quickly become expensive and difficult to manage. And if we have got to contextualize this in line with what I had said in terms of the volatilities and uncertainties that we have in our sector, we cannot afford to have more diseases. We have got to be vigilant and ensure that we innovate, that we deal with biosecurity issues. As you all know, pests do not need passports to come into our country, and they don't need passports to exit also. So we have got to be very vigilant in the way that we deal with this. because the consequences of biosecurity breaches are severe. They reduce our yields, they increase the needs for chemical controls and threaten biosecurity. Moreover, these issues can harm the country's exports. And harming the exports also means that we're harming our own GDP. And it can therefore lead to trade restrictions against our own exports. To mitigate against these risks, we need to ensure that we have got strict phytosanitary measures in line with the International Plant Protection Convention, in line with the agreement on sanitary and phytosanitary measures of the WTO. For example, more than 37 pests are regulated by the Eurasian Economic Commission Council, in which South Africa needs to comply with these conditions. If we need to export, for instance, to the Russian Federation, it would mean that we have got to comply with this. This includes the certification of healthy planting material, rigorous inspection and testing procedures, and proper quarantine protocols. International cooperation and adherence to standards like this set by the International Plant Protection Conventions would ensure that we are trading safely with other partners. While trading potatoes and propagation material of potatoes supports global markets and food supply, it must be balanced with very vigilant measures. Protecting our crops from pests and diseases is a shared responsibility. It is everybody's responsibility. It is not the farmer's responsibility only. It is also government's responsibility. It is other stakeholders' responsibility. And therefore, biosecurity is everybody's responsibility. Let me be very clear. No single entity, be it government, academia, or business, can do this alone. Progress requires partnership. And that is why, if you look at the strategic plan of the Department of Agriculture, the very first thing that we prioritize in terms of our 7 priorities is partnerships. The department extends its hand to work together with Potato SA and all its stakeholders to ensure that we advance partnerships. A shining example of the partnerships that we are having is the Potato Certification Scheme, implemented collaboratively by the Independent Certification Council for seed potatoes, and also ensuring that we have got production and distribution of high-quality, disease-free seed potatoes. The PCS, as we call it, strengthens quality assurance, traceability, export readiness, sustainable production, and capacity building. It is very important as we have a discourse over today and tomorrow, and maybe over time, to see whether that PCS that we had originally set in line with government acts, including the Plant Improvement Act, would still be the relevant tool that we are going to utilize, whether we need to expand it, whether we need to ensure that there are tweaks that we have got to make to the system for it to be more cutting edge and moving us ahead. As I focus into this talk, I want to also highlight, because I work for government, and I was told that the only free lunch that exists is in a mousetrap, so I have got to also sell. Our Agricultural Research Council and the universities that we are having, Stellenbosch, Pretoria, and the University of the Free State, continue to drive advancements that we need in this sector. And these advancements are in the following areas. In the areas of varietal development, seed production, pest and disease diagnostics, and technology transfer. And I would like us to pause and give these universities and the ERC a round of applause for ensuring that these issues that we have in our sector are being given attention. This is one example of how partnerships would really edge South Africa forward. And I would like to appreciate these universities and the ERC for the work that they are doing. But they are not in this business just to grow crops. They are actually growing scientists. They are actually growing our future leaders. And as government, we remain steadfast in our commitment to invest in the cutting edge of research and development through these institutions and beyond, to support smallholder farmers and emerging farmers and commercial farms with very strong engagement. We commit in terms of providing extension services, skills training, and technology access, and develop the policy frameworks that would enable us to have a rewarding and sustainable sector and creating space for innovation to flourish. But as I said, we cannot do this alone. We call upon the private sector to co-invest in strategic research and pilot new technologies on the ground. Academia and the scientific community to ensure that research is rigorous, responsive, and relevant, and most importantly, industry itself to insulate itself, to be resilient, to be inclusive in its approach towards the value chains, and uplift those that would have not had the opportunity to be uplifted in the past. Coming back to the strategic nature of the potatoes, often we underestimate the importance of the potato industry. If we have got to focus on driving rural development, improving nutrition, boosting our employment, and enhancing our food security, we don't have to look more beyond the potatoes, because there is a rising demand for processed potato products, from crisps to frozen fries, and it is creating actually a very exciting new industrial opportunities. And I think the chair had highlighted earlier on in terms of the areas that we are at. But we cannot do this if we don't do a lot of work around the consumer sciences, around how people, in the past when I was still growing up, when I didn't have the shining part up in my head, there was this issue that was always raised around consumer science. The person who bought the product was always engaged. On TV, you would always have adverts around commodities, and potatoes were no exception. These days, we see less of that. And I think that we need to re-engage with the consumer, make the consumer the central part in terms of the engagement, so that we can grow demand in the potato industry. But as we say, we don't have to be complacent. Past progress is no guarantee for future success. To sustain and grow our impact, we must double down on innovation, deepen the investments in science and human capital, and commit to inclusive, people-centered development. Ladies and gentlemen, let us not underestimate what we are building together. What we are building together is enshrined in the Agriculture and Agro-Processing Master Plan. It is in the areas of the master plan that include us as government dealing with policy ambiguities and ensuring that there is adequate market access for our crops. The potato is more than a crop. It is a symbol of resilience, a symbol of adaptability and opportunity. As we look to the future, let us imagine a South African agriculture where every farmer, regardless of size, regardless of background, has access to the tools of tomorrow. Every harvest that we have contributes to a more food secure, healthier nation, and where agriculture is not only competitive, and sustainable, but is truly inclusive. I would like to re-emphasize, as I conclude, that the synergy between certification systems, research and innovation is not only about strengthening the potato industry, it is about securing the future. Let us leave this symposium not only inspired, but determined. Let's invest in innovations that grow not just crops, but communities. Let's champion science that serves the people and the planet. Let's partner across sectors. Let's make sure that South African agriculture becomes a global model of resilience, transformation, and excellence. The seeds of the future are in our hands. Let's plant them wisely. Ke a leboga, ngiyabonga, enkosi, bayadange.